All right. Here we are. Here we are again. Okay. So welcome. I'm going to be talking about virtual war, Gloria Skurzynski. But first, I want to preview my newest book, Spiritual Herbalism: The Magic and Medicine of the Plants by Josh Williams. And he's wonderful. If you get a chance, do a search on Green Thread, the Green Art, Josh Williams. He's amazing. I just picked up his book. So we'll be talking about that in the future. Next time, we'll be talking about Wolf's book, The Herbal Lore of Wise Women and Wort Connoisseurs, The Healing Power of Medicinal Plants. This was a book recommended by Josh. He has a club called The Grove, a membership community, and I like it. It's pretty cool. And we're doing a book club of this book, so I'm trying to read through it again. So let's get started with virtual war. Now, this is just an intro. I want to welcome you to my channel. We're taking a look at the world through my exploration of just many ideas, and I thank you for taking the time to check this project out. It's a work in progress, and you're here right at the beginning, so you're seeing all the roughness of just diving into doing something new. And I like it. I like it raw like this for now. So yeah, like I've been getting inspired to make book lists of things that I need to read and explore. But before I buy books, I want to make sure I'm, reading the books I have, rereading books I've read before with this new perspective. And then I found if you do a search of a book and you type in PDF after, you can usually find, if it's old enough, you can usually find really quickly right at the top of your search a link to a PDF version, which would be downloadable or free to read online. So I found the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, which is something I want to talk about in the future. Talking about older science fiction. And so that's something on my radar because I'm reading Chronicles of Narnia right now. We're still on the first book. But this is the first book in a series of 4, Virtual War. And it was a really quick read. Big print. It's for teenagers. I think adults can do well to read it as well. And there's some points I can relate to it just on a superficial level. The kids are 14. And the girl, there's 3 main characters. And the young girl, her and the hero of the story, they're both 14. There's a third character who's 10. But you can see the difference in maturity, if you will, from the hero male character and I suppose you call her another hero, but this female character, she's pretty interesting because right from the get-go, you can see that she knows more. She knows more than she's telling anybody, and she's a code breaker. So the premise is these 3 kids are set up to be a team to fight a virtual war. And there's apparently three governmental bodies on the earth. So these kids represent the Western Hemisphere. And there's a date set for this virtual war. Now, I'm so glad this book came on my radar, because I've been watching a lot of Professor Daryl Hamamoto's content, and he's definitely been an inspiration to me just in the last few days since I've discovered him. I've watched hours of his content, and he's encouraged me. He has a call to action, I would say, and he's encouraged me a lot to start doing my homework. So thank you, Daryl. Let me call you by your first name. I really respect your work, and I've been taking your work as a call to action. The proof of which, I thought this was a fun one. This is something I want to work with my kids. Idioms. Like, take everything with a grain of salt. Read everything. Read everything. And don't trust everything. I was listening to a couple of talks today with the same guest, Manny Grossman. And that's part of my research, is I'm delineating these people, content creators, writers. I'm like tracking their genealogies. So if someone's name comes up, I'm trying to see who else did they talk to? Who are they collaborating with? So I found that really cool that both Professor Hamamoto and Thomas Sheridan and the Beyond Room 313 folks, Jason and Timony, they've had Manny Grossman on the Beyond 313, and Professor Hamamoto's done collaborations with Manny Grossman, and he's talking about the son of Sam. That's what Manny Grossman's been studying, and he's proving that the reporter Maury Terry, who wrote the book Ultimate Evil, but he was also writing articles during this time before they caught the son of Sam. But they're doing this work. They're calling it real-time true crime. And they're challenging narratives that people have held for decades. As are other content creators. People are trying to dig into this, but we really do have to do like as Manny Grossman says, the higher end citizen journalism. So I am trying to do my homework here, and as Professor Hamamoto said, any of us in the truth, alternative media, concerned parent who wants educational reform, it behooves us to do the hard work of making our communities livable. And I think part of that is practicing our communication techniques, discovering that probably we're all displaced people, and we get to connect to these ancient lessons, and there's a lot to explore with Western philosophy, and that's what I appreciate about Thomas Sheridan's work, is he really takes it back to the time before language, and so it's important to understand language as it's used, how it's been used. And, that's why I think this book, it's deceptively simple. It really challenged my thinking for a few days afterwards, so it took me a few hours to read, and I've definitely spent countless hours since pondering these themes that that jumped out at me. So I'm really anxious to find the next 3 books in this series. Hopefully I can find them inexpensively. But I'll just list off some of the themes that come to mind: contamination, isolation, mis, dis, and malinformation, sterilization, genetic modification, the limited perspective, the no need to know, specialization, lack of human connection, isolation. But I mean, it's like, even if you're not isolated, there's still a disconnect, right? That's kind of like being lonely in a crowded room. So lack of human connection, you can still be with people, versus isolation, solitary confinement, no one is around you. We also consider mutants, and the concept of genetic modification, and there's so much there. Then the interpersonal concept of cheating and lying, blind trust, and being fooled. So in the very end of the book, Charla, she gives a warning to Corgan. Listen, Corgan, when you're putting together your statistical data on the transgenic cattle, be careful. Careful? Why? Don't always believe in statistics. Statistics can be tweaked to prove almost anything. Genetic stats, population stats, war game stats. So when he hears this, he knows that she cheated. She cheated to win the game, and we'll have to read the next books to find out what comes after that. But I did think that was very, very poignant, considering what's going on in the world right now. Thomas Sheridan's been talking a lot about his psychic weather report yesterday was don't do Gollum shit. Don't be a Gollum. Don't do Gollum shit. And I guess that's just, that's something I'm challenging myself to not be like that. I mean, right now I'm faced with having to have patience. The patience to slow down, do something the right way, so I don't fumble things. So I'm trying to get more organized here as it comes to presentations, but I do like the idea of, like, if it's conversational here, we got to develop some context. And I think that's a lot that's missing right now. And, I don't want to watch all this alt news that just spouts, one position as if they know everything that's going on. I'm much more interested in the folks who are like, okay, here's what people are talking about, and I don't know what's true, but it could be this, it could be this, but I'm not claiming to know what's up. And that's why I like watching the Marfugel news updates about what's going on, because he reads through the headlines, but he's telling you, take this with a grain of salt. You want to be prepared for anything, Um, and it just makes me think about this concept of the weird, the fate. Is anything set in stone? Like, just because you grew up in a bubble and you were told one thing and then you find out it's all lies, like, your brain doesn't have to break, but that does happen to a lot of us. Like, our head just cracks because our worldview crumbles, and that's a really difficult thing. And I'm going through that right now. How do I awaken safely? How do I have patience to take my kids skiing? I still have a fun day even when they're struggling, and that is so challenging and trying. But it's worth it, and that's what I'm looking for, is the reward of patience is the patience. So maybe that's how we avoid being the golem, is, yeah, we have to discover our our path our own way, and we have to be willing to admit we're wrong. But I want to be able to ask questions. I want to be able to say things incorrectly, because I'm working it out. I'm practicing it. But that puts me in a vulnerable position, for sure. So, didn't want to dive in too deep, but I thought those concepts were really worth mentioning. That we're facing the unknown. There's so much propaganda out there. There's so many people saying, I'm for this, I'm against that. And they don't understand either side. They don't understand either country, but they're picking sides. They're claiming to know exactly what's going on. Those are the people you can't trust. Okay? So I'm getting my mind blown, my ideas challenged every second of the day. And that's I've always said that about parenthood. It's the ultimate, constant being humbled, because you were wrong about something. You have to shift gears very quickly with kids. And a lot of times it means slowing down, because things work a whole hell of a lot better if you can be calm and sweet and figure out how to make it fun, rather than freaking out and blowing the whole day for everybody. So I'm definitely working on that. I mean, I blew my lid the other day. I picked my kid up from tutoring, and there's other little kids there, and I open the door to the place, and I think my kid's running outside, and then she runs back in to go get something. And this little girl says, to me, you have to close the door. You have to keep the door closed. And I was just like, okay then. And I said something rude under my breath, close the door. And I just thought, man, I let this little twerp get me all worked up. But I just thought, well, yeah, fuck, I left the door open for a few seconds, and this little girl's trying to tell me what's up. She's trying to tell a grown-up the rules. And I'm not having it. I'm not taking shit from these little kids. I'm not, but I'm still going to show them some love and respect. I don't want to lose my temper, though. I don't want to lose my shit at these other people's kids. But yeah, if they're going to test me, I might get a little sassy with them. I had a neighbor girl, always trying to second guess what I was saying. Okay, it's time for Clem to come home now. Oh, well, why? What? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, girl, I'm not arguing with you. You're a child. And I think that's respectful of kids, is to treat them like that. We don't want to coddle them all the time, but we do want to show them love and respect. We do want to protect them from the wolves out there, and they're out there. And I'm glad my kid begged me not to go back to her public school anymore. And we're going to do the homeschool thing. It was making her stressed out and sick. And there's an optional line when you're filling out the form to withdraw your kid from the public school, to be allowed to take them to do homeschool. You can fill out your reasons why, and I put bullying and bad food, but among other things. So part of our curriculum is going to be having some fun, and then we're going to be cooking and doing some chores and making arts and crafts and reading and singing and making music and using math in a everyday practical way. So I'm excited to share this journey with you. Thanks for checking it out. We didn't really dive into virtual war, but it just reminds me of the fact that like Thomas Sheridan said, the emerging folklore, the Beyond Room 313 project. We're living this right now. We're examining these science fiction stories that may be predictive, maybe because we're thinking about these things, they come true. But I don't believe it's fated that we will be all consumed by this. I think definitely people are buying into it. And my hope is that our power is in the fact that we're having fun. We're doing as best we can to enjoy what we have, to not take things for granted. And, having access to water, having access to food, electricity, a warm place to sleep. I'm not taking any of this for granted. Ever. So maybe we've had it too easy, and what's to come may be really challenging. But I think it's important to use the concept of having patience. The reward for patience is patience. So to me, I'm learning, just breathe, drink water, enjoy the moment, and, just trying to laugh, try and have some fun, even though it's ugly out there, for sure. Um, I'm trying not to freak out too much. Um, but I don't want to be all consumed by the bad news. I want to look at it from a step behind. I don't want to be too up close to it that I can't see the bigger picture. And so in the future, I would like to read not just the rest of the Gloria virtual war series, but I want to read some of her other books. She has some kids' books about national parks mysteries, and that's really intriguing. There's the Missing 411 Project about the national parks, and so I'm always interested in those kinds of ghost stories, mysteries. It's fascinating. And I'm going to talk some more about Wolf Storrell. Learning more about the ancient ways. He has a number of books. He's printed through North Atlantic Books, and he has a few different titles available there. So we have a lot to do, a lot of reading to do, and I'm about out of things to say for now. But with that, I'm just so grateful we've been able to go skiing while we still can. Hang out with these kids while they're still little and need me. It's awesome. So you'll be a part of my developing curriculum, and I have to thank a number of people, but especially my friends, which have introduced me to the likes of Thomas Sheridan and Professor Hamamoto and others. Thanks to Josh Williams for introducing me to the plant path in a brand new way, taking it back to just the basics, being surrounded and appreciating a plant, this juniper. And I've been working with juniper this week, the juniper spirit. So I think that's definitely one of the things I've been able to gain through this focus on developing a kinship with juniper is that concept of patience. And I have a juniper tree in the yard that's been here since before we moved, and it has a big scar on the side of it. And it just shows me its resilience. And I'm so grateful for developing patience so that I can see those lessons of resilience. Looking back on my life, I've overcome things I thought I couldn't. And I think we all need to remember that, especially teaching children. We can't forget that place where they come from, where they lack context. So if we can hold on to some of that childhood curiosity, and also as adults, remember what it's like to be a child so that we can be kind. I don't know. I mean, kids aren't that kind to each other, right? So how are we going to fix this bullying thing, when we're sort of rewarded in a way for being bullies? Like, we get there's people that are just getting like a high from picking the sports team that they want to win and then calling the other guy a bad guy. Oh, blah, blah, blah. There's always some, millionaire whining. And that's what drives me crazy about sports. These grown-up babies out there. And, I can relate. I'm a grown-up baby. I'll admit it. So I'm trying to awaken without, breaking. So thanks for letting me share my thoughts with you, and I look forward to talking with you again. We'll meet back on the 11th. I have a stream scheduled for the 11th talking about wart cutting, and maybe I'll pop in for a quick hello before that, but otherwise I'll see you then. Good night.